All right, time for an unboxing of something different. It's Lunar Soil Simulant. So this is a company called Space Resources Technology, and they're a spin-off of the University of Central Florida's Exolith Lab. So Exolith means soil from outside of the Earth. Let's open this up, see what we got here. We have a very thick cardboard box. That's what we got. Okay, so it's got the actual box inside. All right, so this is it says lunar dust. Now, I would say that's somewhat misleading because it's not actually from the moon. But we've been to the moon enough times and brought back samples that we know, and also from analyzing from space, we know the characteristics of lunar soil on various parts of the moon. So you probably know that all the Apollo programs landed kind of in this area on the side facing the, broadly facing the Earth, including the first landing at the Sea of Tranquility, which is right here. So the Sea of Tranquility, that's where Apollo 11 landed and brought back the first moon samples. There's been other samples returned. In fact, on the far side of the moon, the Chinese recently returned samples from the far side of the moon. That's the first time anybody has ever done that, and that was done by a robotic rover and space probe. So now the current plan for going back to the moon, this is kind of a side thing, but that's important in understanding what this is the next place we're going to be landing on the moon, the United States anyway, is at the South Pole, and also the Chinese are interested in landing at the South Pole. And so that'll come into play later when we talk about what there's two different samples in here, and they each represent two different things. Let's keep looking at the box. So this is the world's leading trusted supplier of simulated lunar, asteroid, and Martian dust samples. Okay, so like I said, it's an offshoot of the University of Central Florida Exolith Lab. So they're well regarded for being able to get the information from different probes and return samples, and then simulating using materials found on Earth, simulating the soil that's on these other bodies. So, all right, grasp the moon in the palm of your hand. Okay, that's a little bit misleading. So let's open this up. Looks like it's not taped right. Okay, and what you get is two little jars. See if they're glass. I feel like they're glass jars. We'll have to see. They're kind of heavy, which is because the soil's in there. So they're well packaged. I would say these are glass jars. Yeah. All right, and then this one is labeled Apollo, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more in a second. And this one is labeled Artemis. So the Apollo samples are meant to simulate the mare soil found on the moon in the places where the Apollo landings happened. So the mares are also, that's a different name for the mares are the seas, like the Sea of Tranquility, Mare Tranquilitas. The seas are the flat areas of the moon. So the moon has a bunch of craters where things hit it, but if something very large hit the moon, it turned the surface of the moon to lava and erased all the craters that were there. So then following on to that, small things hit the moon again and made smaller craters. But so the Apollo missions mostly landed on flatter areas. I think the Apollo 16 landed near some highlands to get some different geology, but mostly we landed on safer places that were more flat. Now, so that's the Apollo simulant. So it's kind of darker. You can see that a little bit darker, because if you look at the moon with photographs, these mare or seas areas are dark looking. Now the Artemis sample, it's labeled Artemis. This is a lot lighter, so let's look at those together. You can see the Artemis sample is much lighter. It looks kind of like chalk or whatever. This looks more like got some charcoal in it almost, but of course it doesn't. But it's got darker minerals in it. So the Artemis program is the program to return to the moon. So Artemis was Apollo's sister in mythology. And so the Artemis program is the one that's going to be going to the South Pole of the moon. This is the highlands area. There's a lot more mountainous in this area, and there aren't really any seas in this area. There are some large craters, but so this simulant is for where the astronauts are going to be going to the South Pole. And this time we're sending women and men. That's, again, Artemis was Apollo's sister. So last time, up till now, 12 men have walked on the moon, all from the United States, and no women from any country, or actually any astronauts from any other country except the United States have landed on the moon. But this time we're going back to the moon, and we're going to be sending women and men to the moon. So that's one reason why it's called Artemis. All right, so that's these simulants. So we're going to take a look at other simulants that I've used and see how these compare as samples. All right, well, this is the first simulant I got from the University of Central Florida before this Space Resources Technology company was spun off. I read an article in a magazine about, they were offering this Mars soil simulant to researchers to see, for example, can we grow plants on the moon in the soil plants on Mars in the soil that's on Mars? So they would again, using the space probes and rovers that have landed on Mars and analyzed the soil, they took the minerals that were on Earth that were the same as those found on Mars and mixed them up into a kind of a recipe that matches the soil on Mars. So this is a lot redder. It's also very heavy because it has a lot of iron in it. If you use a magnet, it's too hard to show on video, but if you use a magnet and slide it slowly away from along this container here, you'll see some of the soil sticks to it. So that's kind of a fun thing to do with students. So I use this when I do my outreach to schools and also to the public on other events. Now, one thing to mention, but this is all sealed up, right? And so are these, right? You don't want to be opening these up because these dusts are the particle size that are dangerous to inhale. So that's why I sealed this up. You can also buy this simulant from Space Resources Technology. Now, when I got this, I said I was a public outreach person, and so that they actually said that this is 1 kilogram. They sent this to me for free, so because I was doing it for public, a public good, let's say, by going to schools or whatever. I don't know if they still honor that kind of an arrangement. You'd have to contact them and see. So this is also available. This costs $68, a little over $66 rather. The list price for these two jars were $38, but since I bought something else from this lab, apparently, and signed up for their newsletter, they sent me a coupon for $28 off, so it only cost $10. So that to me was a good price. $38 for this, for just a souvenir, I think is a little bit high. I'm going to be using this for outreach, just like I use this. This is a big hit with people. They asked me if it's real. I said, if it was real, it'd be worth over $1 billion. But anyway, I think it's important to show, what does soil look like on other celestial bodies? And again, having people pick this up and feel how heavy it is compared to what you think it might be if it's just sand. Because of all the iron in it, it's a kind of a wow moment for people. So also that using the magnet. So since we're going back to the moon, it's going to be a few years since we actually show up there, but there's at least some excitement in the media about it, that we're going back to the moon. There's going to be a new space race between the Chinese and their friends and the US and our friends. And so I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of activity on the moon in the next decade or so. So as I go out to these events, it's nice to have some something that people can look at and maybe even hold in their hand. I'm not sure if I want kids picking this up because they drop it on the ground, it might break, but I'll probably just have people looking at it, and we'll see. I'll have to think about that. But for outreach, I think this is useful to show that there's different kinds of soil on the moon. It's not all the same. It's not made of green cheese, things like that. So I think this is a good thing for my purposes for doing public outreach. So at some point, when we actually land on the moon, I'll probably if we land a particular spot on the moon, I'll probably make a terrain model of that. And so I'll show you what I did for the Mars landing. Like this is the terrain model I made for the Perseverance landing on Mars. So it landed here on this X marks the spot. It's been traveling up this canyon. Now it's up here after a few years. Let's see, three plus years, 3.5 years or so. It's up right near the rim of the canyon. So when I made this, I wanted to pick a filament that was matched this simulated soil. I think I did a pretty good job of matching that soil. Another thing I made based on the color of this soil was this Mars sample tube. So the Perseverance rover is drilling into rocks and extracting core samples from inside the rock. This is basically life size. And so here's a replica core sample that I made. Again, 3D printed. And again, I'm using the same filament I used for this, so this matches this soil. So if I make something from the moon, like again, a terrain model where the Artemis first landed on the moon, it'll look like this. The soil there will look like this whitish soil, because this is the Artemis sample. So now that I have this, having this in my hand that I can use to try to find a filament, it's kind of a very light gray filament. I have a kind of a marble filament that actually might match this pretty closely, because there are some dark flecks. So I'll probably use my marble filament to create a terrain model or something else about the Artemis landings when they happen. Should be in the next 5 years. This is 2024. We'll see how things go. There's always forward and backwards progress in space exploration. So hopefully it'll be mostly forward. All right, so that's my review of the lunar dust replica samples from Space Resources Technology. And this is a very reputable company, so I'm confident that these samples do simulate the actual soils found on the moon. So thumbs up from Beta Cygni, but for $38, I'd say it's a little bit high. If you can get a discount, maybe during, I don't know, Black Sunday or something, or Black Friday, then you might want to go for it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Post a comment if you have any questions or ideas, and I'll try to respond. That's all for now, but more videos are coming, and if you want to see them, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification icon if you don't want to miss one. This is Beta Cygni signing out, and keep looking up.